Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody. I'm Ian. I'm actually a friend of Barry's. You're probably wondering why he hasn't been posting videos. Well, to give you the short answer, fuck you.
Alright guys, so the reason that I haven't been posting so often lately is because I'm actually on another road trip right now. I did pre-record a few different videos before I left, so you will be seeing some, but I don't have a lot of downtime. So as I can, I'll work on videos and I'll get them posted. But for right now, I'm gonna live. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy this video.
So when we last left off, you may have realized that sometimes I make really stupid decisions, and generally I'm a little more careful, but I was very drunk, and I lost about $200 to my own stupidity. Trevan and I wanted to get the hell out of Florida and make it back to Ian so we could go camping with him. So we text up Ian and we let him know that it'll take about a day to get there. Now Ian sends a reply and he says, hey, the weather's actually going to be kind of crappy when you get here, so why don't you just come to my house? You guys can hang out there for that day, and then we'll wake up the next day and then we'll go. And I was like, okay, that sounds good to me. So it takes a few hours, but we made it all the way to Biloxi, and we actually stopped off at this little sushi restaurant called Ichiban. And this is one of the best sushi restaurants I've ever been to. The idea is it's like a sushi buffet. So you order a bunch of sushi, and once you hit $20, that's it. That's all you have to pay. You can continue to order sushi, and so long as you've eaten $20 worth, you get the rest for free. Now, there are stipulations to that. If you order another roll after your $20 and you don't finish it, they will charge you $1 for every piece you left. And if you leave more than 3, they charge you for the whole roll. I probably ate $30 worth of sushi, and that was awesome that I only had to pay 20 bucks for the entire thing. I wish we had a restaurant like that here. While we were at dinner, I was telling Ian and his girlfriend about everything that we'd experienced while we were in Florida, and he he got in my face and he was like, dude, you're crazy. That guy could have killed you. You're an idiot. And I was like, yeah. Yes, I know, okay? I already know. He's like, look, I'm sorry to be a dick. And I'm like, no, you're not being a dick. You're being honest. I appreciate it. So we finish up dinner and we make it back to Ian's house, and he starts showing us his room. Apparently, his father and himself tore the basement of this house apart, and they turned it into his room. And I realized that Ian is a very creative guy. He was telling us how he and his father built this house. Apparently, his family are house flippers, so that's what they do. He's showing us all these cars out in the yard that are broken down and all of his future plans he has with them. The next day, I wake up and I went outside because I wanted to record all these cars in this little piece of property that Ian had. I was really fascinated by all of it, and I wanted to document it.
Alright, so we're back at Ian's place, and last night it was storming like crazy. I was actually a little worried about parking under this tree because of how much it was storming. I wasn't sure if maybe a branch was going to fall off and destroy my van. But they said that the last time a hurricane came in, it already did the majority of the damage. That's from it. That's from the hurricane. And that's from the hurricane. Apparently it broke this whole thing. Not just that. That's an easy enough fix. But apparently it broke this front hitch situation too. So most of the limbs have already come off. That was kind of reassuring. Alright, so here's Ian, working on the sex bus.
Oh, what's up, baby?
How's it going?
I'm just putting my carburetors back together so I can get this guy going.
Right.
Just back her up. But we're gonna be straight piping her just to get back under the house here.
Real quick, I wanted to show off some of the stuff that Ian is working on. So all of these aluminum tubes here that are connected, that's going to be his roof rack, and he bent all these pipes himself. He's got them all set up together. He just got to weld them up. And then this is what he's working on right now. This is his exhaust situation. So he's going to try to fire this thing up right now without this and see what happens.
I'm kind of nervous.
Oh. Oh, man.
I was angry. I gotta adjust the idle. Oh my god! That is stupid!
So further down, we've got this beautiful piece of machinery right here, a Lark II. This thing is gorgeous. He was showing off the interior. Apparently they had this thing running for a little bit. And then I don't remember what he said happened. Oh, yeah, the the gas tank burst. They like punctured it. So that thing just no longer works. But man, what a beautiful car. And then they got this. These things are nice, but apparently it's not even attached. The frame is not attached to the body right now. So they use it as a storage shed. Now the last couple things that he's got on his property is this old guy right here. Now we thought this was funny because, I mean, it's a nice car and all. You know, a little bit of damage down in here. But last night we were looking at it and there's a bunch of bones and like the skull of some animal just sitting in here. It was apparently the first time he'd ever seen that. He was like, what the hell? But then, apparently he's been working on this for a little bit. So we got a bug shell right here. He wants to fix it up. Apparently there was some front end damage. He wants to fix it up and turn it into a teardrop trailer, which I think is a great idea.
When I got back inside, I went upstairs and Ian, Lily, Ian's mother, and Trevan are all up there. They give me a piece of cake and they had a little candle in it. And they're like, hey, Barry, we didn't know this, but apparently it's your birthday today. And I was like, oh my God. No, you guys are right. They're like, here you go, man. Here's a piece of cake for it. And I was like, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. After my cakey breakfast, Ian, Trevan, and I went to this place called Hattiesburg, and we went to this store called the Lucky Rabbit. This was one of the quirkiest stores I've ever seen, and it's a very difficult place to explain. I walked through it with the camera, and I actually got to talk with the owner and ask him if it was okay if I could record it, and he said, yeah, honestly, more publicity is good. Like, give it to me, you know? Yeah, go ahead and record whatever you want. They had game sections in here. Up at the very top, there's a full-on theater where you can actually play whatever movie you want, plug it into the VCR, and then you could just sit there with your friends. They got a spot for Stranger Things. They got like a Marvel area, like anything that you could possibly think of. And I asked the guy, what's your motivation for this? And he's like, honestly, every store is kind of generic and the same these days. I wanted a place where people could go and have an experience without having to buy something. You walk in here and it's just like, whoa, where did I walk into? It's a fairyland. Another cool thing about this place is there were payphones scattered around the entire building, and you could actually use every single one of them. If you walked up to them, you put some coins in and you can call. And I actually called my mother with it because I wanted to see if it worked. After that, it was time to make it to Red Bluff. Ian grabbed his van, I grabbed my van, and we started heading out that way. And Red Bluff was really cool. Now, the first night we spent our time just kind of gathering firewood, and really there wasn't firewood around. I was actually kind of sad to see how much garbage was around this place. This is one of those places that's called the Clay Grand Canyon. It's like their Mississippi landmark, and people go there and just throw like busted couches and sacks of trash, and we're just like, what the hell is this? So we found this pile of wood chips and we grabbed as much of that as possible and we threw it into a fire pit and we started trying to light it on fire, but it wasn't really working very well. So I grabbed my gasoline, I had a big canteen on the top of my van, and we start dousing the fire with that and it started building up. Well, as we're walking around, we start to realize that there are glass bottles and there are t-shirts all over the place. And we hatched ourselves an idea. So we found 27 of these glass bottles since I had just turned 27. We put some gasoline in the glass bottles, soaked the shirts that we'd ripped up and put them in there, and then we started throwing Molotov cocktails around. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I know this sounds stupid. There was trash everywhere, that's no excuse. We did pick up. We actually went around collecting a bunch of trash and we took it with us so we could throw it away. So we kind of paid for our littering a little bit, but it was an experience I'll never get again. So if you're gonna judge me, fine, but Molotov cocktails for your 27th birthday party? Come on! Now there was a point where something pretty funny happened. I was gonna move my van and park it down on the road instead of up into the campsite. So I take the van and I'm driving it down this road and there was a clay little cliffside and my right tire almost fell off of this little cliffside and I almost rolled my entire van, which would have sucked. I was so scared to death when this started happening. And Ian is in the van with me and he is screaming like, dude, oh my God. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not going back in there. He's like, dude, I do not blame you at all. Now this is funny because on the road trip this entire time, I kind of don't care about road lines, so I'm over the white line all the time. And there were so many times where Trevan would mention, he's like, dude, The white line is like in the middle of the van, okay? Can you get back on the road? And I'm like, dude, it's not a big deal. He's like, you're not on the road. I was like, is there asphalt underneath us? He's like, well, yeah, technically. I was like, then we're on the road. And he and I would have a thing about that. So when he goes and he sees where I almost flipped, he goes, yeah, it looks like you hugged that right side, huh? The next morning, we woke up and we made ourselves some breakfast. We had some sausages, we had some eggs, and we had some coffee. And Ian had a really smart idea on how to make this breakfast cook a little faster.
My arm.
Yeah, he burned the shit out of himself. After breakfast, we got up and we started exploring Red Bluff, and this place was really cool. The entire area is made of clay. There are little areas where there used to be a road and it had broken because the clay underneath gave way and the road actually fell down into the cliff. We took some really awesome pictures with that. It was around this time where there were other people starting to walk around the area, and some of them we saw across the valley. They were at our campground, and Trevan had left his tent just there, and we were like, okay, I'm not going to sit there and say that the people here will probably go through our stuff and steal it, but if we're going to be walking around this area for a little bit, we may want to go pack up. So we went back, we packed up his stuff, threw it in the vans, and then we kept walking on our way. Now, I know it was clay, but the clay was amazing. I had never seen an entire canyon just made of this stuff, and you could pick it up and just start squashing it. It was like someone grabbed a bunch of Play-Doh and just threw it out there. I was like, yeah, that'll do what it's gonna do. There were points where we started running around looking at shiny objects that people had just thrown out, and we're like, let's run up the cliffs and take a look at that. And I have a video of Ian going up there and running for this hubcap that was up there. So we traveled this path through the canyon for a little while until we decided to turn back around and head down towards this river. Ian had told us that there was a broken down train that we could go see, and I was like, yes, I absolutely want to go see that. So we start traveling down this river, and it was gorgeous. I was so annoyed. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's trash here in Oregon, but it is not like this. People are really respectful around here about where they put their stuff. And to see this much trash strewn about, and even like way down into the canyon off the sides of the river, there are just spare tires and stuff. I'm like, what in the world is the point of that? You guys need to have a team come down here and fix this, because this is beautiful and it deserves better than this. But that might be my hippy-dippy Oregonian talking, so whatever. So we finally get down to the railroad tracks and we find this spot where a train had tipped over and fell into the river. And we start walking over there and we're just checking it out. Now there came a point where Ian pulls his backpack off and he's like, hey boys, guess what? And he shakes it. Inside we heard spray cans. He had brought stuff so that we could tag. I had never tagged before, but he said that this is a place where everyone goes to do it, and it's kind of a tradition, and if you don't come down here and tag, there's something wrong with you. So I was like, all right, well, let's do it. So Ian, he starts grabbing some cans, and he starts painting his bus on the side of this train. I thought it was an awesome idea, so I was like, I'm going to do the same with the Barry bus. So I start spraying mine. Trevan's like, well, man, I don't have a bus. What the hell? So he kind of made like a rainbow. After we'd had our fun, it was time to make it back to the campsite and head on our way and go find some food. Now, on our way to packing up and putting everything in the van, I noticed this girl. It was actually a couple girls who were walking down the trail. One of them was wearing a Lady Gaga-esque super sparkly silver dress. It was completely unnecessary for going hiking, but I looked at her and I couldn't avert my eyes because she was sparkly. So Ian and Trevan are sitting there and I look over at her and I was like, man, for a second there, I thought I saw a shooting star. Now this girl, she sits there and she's like, oh, tee-hee. And I hear Ian from across the way go, hey, Barry, quit your shit. And I was like, oh, man, come on, dude. We pack up and we head on our way. Now the drive back was really cool. Trevan actually had gone with Ian, so he grabbed my camera and he was filming outside of Ian's van while his back top was up. And that was some really awesome footage that we just could not have gotten had we not met Ian. So we get back into town and we make it to this place called T-Bones, which is essentially a record shop that sells sandwiches. So we sit down, we order some food, and we're sitting there chatting for a little bit. And this store was really cool. There was actually a point where we went up to the counter because I think Trevan and Ian had bought some records. And Trevan looks down and he sees these stickers. He's like, oh man, that's kind of cool. Oh, they're $1? What the hell? I'm not going to pay $1 for a sticker. Now, there was a lady behind the counter, and she's sitting there like, yeah, I know. And I looked at her, and I was like, well, hey, I mean, do you like us? And she goes, well, I mean, you guys seem kind of cool. And I was like, okay, well, would you mind if we took one? And she's like, I mean, I wouldn't mind. She grabs a sticker and she puts it down on the counter and she's like, yeah, if you want it, I mean, go for it. Trevan grabs it and Ian comes in and smacks a dollar bill on the counter and he's like, no, we are not doing things that way. And I was like, dude, you have just blocked me twice today. And he's like, yeah, and you're going to get more of that too. Deal with it. And I'm like, God damn it, Ian. So we finally get back to Ian's house and Ian decided to put a blow-up mattress in his van so Trevan could sleep in there instead. He's like, man, it kind of sucks that you have to sleep in the front seat. It's probably bad for your neck and stuff. And Trevan's like, yeah, my neck does kind of hurt. So it was really cool that Ian did that. The next morning, Ian comes to my van and he wakes me up at 9 o'clock and he's like, hey, Barry, hey, get up, nice and quiet. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, come here, come check this out. Ian slowly gets in the front seat of his van. He opens up the passenger side and I slowly get in there and Trevan is still dead asleep. Ian goes to try to turn on the van so he can speed demon out of there and scare the piss out of Trevan. But unfortunately, this is what happened.
Come on! No! No! Damn it!
Oh, no.
Now she's trying to wake up.
Oh, no. We pranked you.
What's that?
Oh, we got you.
Oh, we got you.
Oh, shit. Woo! Woo! Oh, God.
Okay, that didn't work as well as I thought it would.
No.
Morning.
We have a lot more experiences with Ian that I cannot wait to share with you guys, but for now, I have to cut it there. Ian is a great guy, and he's been waiting for this part for a very long time. So if you're watching this, hey Ian, I've got more stories for you, so make sure to join me again. Thank you guys so much.